Hey guys, thanks for being patient with us. We wanted to get free agency cranking before we got this started. I want to start out by thanking our staffs. Nick and his coaching staff, Andy and his scouting staff. All of football operations had a huge hand in this process. We had a chance safely to get together outside and thank everyone, and just seeing the amount of people who are part of this, it's always humbling, and we talk about being part of a team and how special it is to be part of a team, and you see it in moments like this. This whole process has taken us from last spring through last season, and a lot has changed throughout that process, and just really appreciative that we have a lot of people who can deal with adversity and continue to come out the other side with a positive attitude. When we look at this draft class, it's hard to make judgments tonight. It's hard to know anything other than we went into it with a process and a plan to bring the right people into this organization, the right people into the building. And that started with the work that our scouts do on the road, the people in this building did to vet, our trainers, our medical staff did to make sure in uncertain times they were getting all the right information for all of us. That everyone in our front office was making sure that we got the people into the building, whether that was bringing in Landon or Devonta, and hopefully all those other people as we went forward. I think that when we start talking about this draft, I know you guys are going to talk about the things that maybe you look at our depth chart and see that we didn't address, but we wanted to stay true to our board. We wanted to make sure that we weren't drafting for need, that we were drafting for what we felt was the long-term interests of our football team. And I think any time that we were in the draft room over the last couple of days, and Andy can confirm this, we went back to that. We went back to where the guys were on the board and making sure that we weren't missing opportunities to get players that were higher graded. We don't start playing till September. There's a lot of work to be done on this roster. That's an everyday process. That doesn't end today. And it really won't end up until really the trading deadline when we have opportunities to add to this team. So we'll continue to try to do that. We'll look forward to those opportunities, and just really appreciative and thankful of what we did this weekend with the people we did it. So thank you again.
Thanks for taking the time, Howie, Andy, and Coach. We'll get it started here with Paul Domowitch and Tim McManus.
Yeah, Howie, I know you talked yesterday about Landon Dickerson and his injuries history, but I wanted to go back to it. I mean, last year you told us hope is not a strategy with respect to guys that have been frequently hurt. I mean, this is a guy with a significant injury history. How is he different from Sidney Jones in that you were willing to go with him in the second round, even though I realize this is a first-round talent?
Yeah, Paul, I think that when we look at Sidney and the kind of position he plays, I think that factors into the evaluation of him and Landon. And again, we rely on our team of experts in that field, our medical experts, and we know that in this game that anyone can get hurt. And obviously, the history is that guys who've been hurt get hurt more often than guys who have a cleaner injury history. But we also don't want to be risk adverse. We want to take chances. And when we think about Landon and think about what kind of player we think he is and what kind of player we think he can be in the National Football League, and then, again, our medical group giving us comps of guys, of linemen with these injuries and how long their careers last, and what they're playing and how many games they're starting. And so we knew all of that, but we just felt like this player is unique. To quote Coach Stoutland, he's unusual. He's an unusual player with an unusual personality, and we think that the upside of what he can do, not only as a player but as a person, and the people he can bring along with that, with some of our young linemen, can make a huge difference in our football team going forward. And although hope isn't a strategy, and I definitely say that, it's also we also know the hit rates in the draft, and so we know that it's hard to hit in the draft. I mean, we know in the first round, 50% of the players are not going to work out, and so when you have a guy with this kind of character and this kind of physical ability, he's a person you want to bet on, and especially as we start this program, we thought he was special enough, and I know I'm using that word because he is a special player and a special person, and that it was worth the risk.
We'll go to Tim and John McMullen.
Howie, Zach Ertz is still on the roster. What's the thought process of holding on to him through free agency and through the draft? And in your opinion, at what point does it become a disservice to the player to hold on to him?
Well, Zach's a really good player and a really good person, and he's under contract to the Eagles, and at the same time, we have a lot of respect for him and what kind of player he is and what he's done for our team. But this isn't a guy like in the twilight of his career. This is a guy that's still in his prime, and that a year ago at this time, everyone was talking about, where he ranked with the top tight ends in the league. And so we feel really good about the kind of player he is, and, we got to do what's best for our team as well. And, again, we have a lot of respect for him, and, continue to remain a member of the Philadelphia Eagle. And if something changes, we'll update you guys.
Go ahead, John, and then Zach Berman.
Hey guys, want to talk a little bit about the day 3 picks, specifically, I guess, for Howie and Andy. You look at Jacoby and Patrick, bit of tweeners. Jacoby played safety. You listed him as a linebacker. Patrick was kind of an edge rusher. And then for Nick, is that kind of hybrid, what Jonathan Gannon wants on defense?
So I'll start with the picks today in regard to that. We're excited about these guys. We had six picks, and 3 of these guys were team captains. 4 of the 6 we were able to see at the Senior Bowl in person and spend time with them and talk to them down there. And I think with regard to what Howie was talking earlier, Zach McPherson, the board fell, and the way that fell to us was outstanding. And it was exciting how that came to be. And we like him. We like his versatility, his ability to play outside, his ability to play inside, his ball skills, his football intelligence. He's a team captain, and he's a guy that we got on. Sean Highland, who does that area, did an excellent job of mining the information on Zach and really bringing him to surface him with us. And as we went through the process, he was a guy that we liked, and we were just excited to add him to our football team. Kenneth Gainwell, running back from Memphis, explosive. He was an opt-out guy this year, but in 2019, he rushed for over 1,400 yards, over 600 yards receiving. His contact balance, his hands, he's a guy that we really liked and we're fired up about. Teron Jackson, another guy we got to see at the Senior Bowl and spend time with from Coastal Carolina. Team captain, a lot of negative plays. We got to interview him down in Mobile and watch him practice for the week, and really comfortable with the person. And then we got to bring him back here and hand him off to Howie and coach and the staff, and they took it from there in terms of their spending their time with them. Jacoby Stevens, LSU guy, played safety, he played linebacker. We saw him down in Mobile, he played linebacker. Again, another guy that we were fortunate enough to spend time with in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, take advantage of that opportunity. He's a guy that he's a very productive blitzer, he's a productive tackler, he's tough, he's physical, and he's a guy we're excited to add. And then finally, Patrick Johnson, a linebacker from Tulane. He's a 2-time team captain. He's made a lot of negative plays in his career there. He's strong at the point of attack. He's got some edge rush ability. We think he's going to be a good fit in a Coach Gannon's scheme, and we were really excited to end the day with that pick. So.
Talk about Marlon? My phone rang in the middle of that. Did you talk
Marlon Tuipilotu, another guy that a defensive tackle from USC. He was at the Senior Bowl, had a really strong week. Really heavy-handed guy, can play the run, get off blocks. Got to spend time with him down there. He made a really favorable impression with us, and a young defensive tackle that we're excited to add to our group.
That's a lot of defense players, Coach.
Yeah, it looks good.
How about
those hybrid guys? Nick, is that what Jonathan's looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we see he's got a good plan for where he thinks these guys fit. Again, we got to get our hands on them and get them in here, but they definitely have versatility in what they can do. We like the player, we like their character, everything about them. So again, the more they can do, the better, and that's the way we look at them there with the defensive side.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Mike K.
Hey, good evening. This question is more focused toward Howie, but if Andy or Nick want to jump in, that'd be great too. I wanted to go back to something that we did not discuss on Thursday night. This was a year with 5 quarterbacks in the top 15, and you originally had the 6th pick. Obviously, we're on the board at 10 with 2 quarterbacks there. Why didn't you go quarterback this year? And how much did the evaluation of Jalen Hurts factor into that?
Well, I think in terms of our quarterback evaluations, you take each of those guys individually and you make the evaluation of what you think those guys can do. And then you evaluate the players on your team and you make the best decision for your franchise. And I think when we look back at the opportunity to move back and get an extra one in a year that's probably a little bit more certain, in a draft process, probably a little bit more certain, there was a risk in doing that. We had to weigh the benefits of that and who we thought would be there at the 6th pick, and take those risks. And, when teams are picking 4 and 5, you're kind of going through it and you're going, am I going to be right here? Because you don't know and you're making those decisions. What day do we make the trade? I don't even know. Dave Spadaro, everybody. Great job, man. Great job. March 26th. So you're making a prediction on March 26th, what you're going to do and what you think is going to be there. And so we had to do that at that moment, and we had to be very comfortable with it. And then as we went through the process, we try to target guys that we felt like could make a huge difference in our football team as players and people. And we had a list of those guys, and we felt like although there were opportunities to maybe stay at our spot or move back, we just felt like as we started this program with the people that we started with, we wanted to get a difference maker. And so I think this was about the effect that we thought the players that we drafted had, and not really a judgment on some of the other players that we didn't take.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike, and then Jeff McClain.
Nick, when you look at this draft class and the roster as it's set now, do you feel like you have some comparable talent to what you had in Indy and can use them in similar roles in your offense? Specifically, when you look at somebody like Kenneth Gainwell, maybe a Naheem Hines type player, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a good comparison. We like a lot of the things that Kenneth can do. He does have a little bit of the things that you're saying right there, the ability to go outside and win one-on-one outside against linebackers, against safeties, to come out of the backfield and be able to do that as well. But then again, not always having to do that with him. He's shown that he's been really good in protection aspects of it as well, and that every time he's going in, it's not a pass play right to him. So he can protect, he can run the ball. So I think that's a good comparison. Not to say that we would use him exactly the same way, because no two players are exactly alike. But we do see the ability to create those mismatches with the linebackers and the safeties, whether inside or outside, with that player, whether he's in the slot, whether he's in the backfield, whether he's outside. So that's a really good comparison. And of course, when you're watching guys that are on your roster, or you're watching guys with the draft, you're constantly doing that. You're constantly saying, how will I use this guy, and how have we used this guy in the past, right? And so when you watch a player on our roster or that we're getting ready to work with, those are the things that are going through your mind, all right? Okay, who have we thrown this shallow cross to in the past? Do they have a similar skill set to the player that we're thinking about drafting, or that is currently on our roster? Those things are constantly going through our heads, and yeah, I'm really excited about working with these guys and about the roster that we have to do the things that we want to do on offense.
We have a cool story about Gainwell, don't we? Remember, I was circling back on him, and it was a Sunday night during the NCAA tournament, and I was watching him, and it was a game I hadn't seen, and there were a couple plays that kind of hit me, and my phone was a little bit away, and Andy knows the story, and I told him the next morning, and I picked up my phone to text Nick, and I had a text from him. He was watching the same game I was, and it was his first exposure to him, and he was talking about this guy and how he would use him, so it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Equal excitement. Both of our excitement was high excitement level with Kenneth.
We'll go to Jeff and then Dave Zangaro.
This question is for Andy. Andy, this is your second year basically running the scouting department and the draft board. Do you feel like this process, obviously Howie has to consider a lot of different people and a lot of different voices, but do you feel like your voice was heard and that of your scouts more this year than previously, or was there some difference between this year versus last?
Well, the main difference is that we're together this year, and we're in the room together, and you can't replace that dynamic. And we all have a voice, and Howie does a great job listening to everybody. And I think that's the key, is in my role too, is just being a good listener. Listen to scouts, listen to coaches, and the conversations and communications that we have daily are outstanding, and it's key. You know, we had, with this draft class here, the 9 guys that we took, 6 of our 9 picks are team captains. You know, 6 of the 9 guys were at the Senior Bowl. And just the constant communication from when we were in Mobile, you know, daily talking about the players down there, who was performing well, interviews, and just, you got to stay on top of it. And I think the one thing I've learned, and I learned this a long time ago, being around Ozzie Newsome, is be a good listener. You know, be a good listener. Listen to your scouts and communicate. And I think we did an outstanding job of that. I really felt through this whole process in these last 3 days.
And I think, Jeff, you know, you got a lot of constituents. You know, you're talking about we got a scouting staff, we got a coaching staff, you know, we got a medical staff as well. That everyone's weighing in with all that information. So, you know, not every decision is just clear cut. You know, you're trying to balance all of those factors together to make good decisions. And you know, it's not a process where everyone necessarily is going to be perfect in it, because not everyone has all the same information. And, you know, Andy and I talk about that a lot. You know, like, there are decisions that you make. I may love a player, but if it doesn't fit coach's vision, that's not going to work. It's not going to be a successful process, you know. And so we talk a lot about that, and about making the best decision for the team, not the best decision for just coach or just myself or Andy, but also weighing the fact that, you know, maybe there's a medical issue that doesn't allow this guy to have a long career. Now, is that the best decision for the long-term interests of the organization? So, you know, I think those are all the things we weigh. I mean, it's the same thing tonight. You know, we made a trade for a future pick. And so when you do that, now, you know, you're missing on a couple of players in this draft, and your scouts work all year to get those picks. And, you know, there's a little bit like, I want to pick tonight, you know, but you try to make decisions that are in the best interest of the football team and these jobs. You know, that we have these responsibilities for a reason, and they're not to make everyone necessarily happy. They're to do what's right for the team, and that's what it's about. It's about doing what's right for the team, always.
Yeah, I just like to say, I was really happy with how everything came together. You know, we have a new coaching staff that came on board with a process, and you're getting to know each other. And as you go through the process and you do things, you get to know people, and Nick and his staff, and how they came together with us and scouts. And we got to a point on each player, and we placed them on the board, and everybody had a voice. And I think that's key. You know, everybody has a voice, and we do it together. And it really was awesome how it came together the last 3 days, and how we were able to execute this draft. So couldn't be happier, and excited once we get these guys in here and get going.
We'll go to Dave and then Jimmy Kempski.
Hey, Nick. Earlier today, Jacoby Stevens gave us a pretty in-depth scouting report on Devonta Smith. One of the things he mentioned was that every route he runs, he makes look the same. I wanted to get your take on that and how important that is, and how special that might be from Devonta.
Yeah, to know that, to be able to do that at the college level, and already have that ability to the knowledge, the football IQ to do that's pretty impressive, because that is exactly what we're trying to do with the receivers. Hey, you go inside and you're in the slot, make your deep crossing route look like your deep sail route, look like your stick route, look like your through route. I mean, it really is. It's exactly what we want to do, because we want to put deception into the defensive back's mind, right? We don't want them to know what we're doing, right? And so then when you're running up into this route, give a little head fake this way, then break this way. Or give a little head fake this way and break this way. And the way that head fake works is when everything looks alike, right? So in, up, boom, right? And then breaking out. So that is great insight. And you can definitely see that on Devonta's tape. And again, that's a sign that he was really well coached and that he's a great student of the game. I asked him a couple times of who he liked to study, and he said, I like to study Keenan Allen. I like to study Devonta Adams. Those are two pretty good guys to study to perform your game after. And that's great to hear Jacoby say that same thing. And I saw that too, that LSU put Jacoby on Devonta a couple times, because Jacoby said that was one of his hardest covers. Nah, we're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna do something like that to make Jacoby play against the number one receiver on the other team. So I'll say that. I'm put Gannon on the spot right now. That's not happening. Okay, but that is great. Just really good for receivers to be able to do and know how to do. And that just shows you again the high football IQ of Devonta.
Go ahead, Jimmy, and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Howie, getting back to Zach Ertz for a minute. If you were to move on from him, there would be some salary cap benefits if you waited until after June 1. Is that a consideration when you weigh offers and what's best for the team?
Yeah, I think we're always going to try to do what's best for the Philadelphia Eagles, and we balance that also with our relationships with players that we care about. But that's, again, like we started this conversation talking about, our responsibility is to do what's best for the team, and that's what it's about. So I think when you're talking about this specific situation, that's not really, the consideration. We think Zach's a good player and a good person, and he's under contract.
And Martin, and then Rob Motti.
Hey, this question's for Howie. You mentioned earlier about staying true to your board, perhaps is why you guys didn't draft a cornerback like on day 1 or day 2. So when you did draft Zach McPherson, how does he kind of fit into what the plan is at cornerback? And you mentioned also other ways to skin the cat. I mean, what else can you do, like in the summer, I guess, or during the offseason to address the position?
Yeah, I'll start at the beginning and, where we were picking and who the best player on the board was, in our opinion, taking Devonta in the first round. So I don't know that there was a conversation really about anyone else there for us. And then we went into the second round again. We just felt like there was a potential difference maker on the board as a player and a person, and we felt like it was somebody that it was a person and player worth gambling on in Landon. And when you get around Landon and you talk to him and you really study his tape and you study his person, you study who he is, you kind of don't feel like it's as big a gamble, because you just feel like this is a person who understands what it takes to overcome adversity and play at a high level and have people rally around him. And being in this league for as long as I have, and it's been a long time, those are special things. Those are hard things to find. And they're hard things to find, certainly in the second round. And so that's why we took him. And then when we went into the third round, listen, we're always going to build this football team, and we're going to start with the line of scrimmage. And right or wrong, as long as I'm here, that's going to be the priority. And I think the great things about the two guys next to me is that's what they believe too. And you could say it all you want, but it better show in your actions. And so if we have an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman sticking out on our board and they're the highest guy, I promise you we're going to take them. And you saw that in the last couple of days. I'm sure there are some people sick and tired of seeing the Philadelphia Eagles take linemen. But you know what? That's how we won a championship, and that's how we're going to win another championship. And so for us, we weren't going to get in a situation where we were going to force a position. We promised ourselves that, and those weren't the conversations in the third round either. In the third round, we feel like we got a guy who's explosive and twitched up and's got great character, and he can play inside or out, and he can get after quarterbacks, and that excites us. And that's why we picked Milton Williams. And towards the end of the third round, we saw another player sticking on our board, and that was Zach McPherson. And we had some conversations. I mean, I don't know if you guys realize, if you go back to the tape last night, Andy and I got a little anxious here. We were sitting up here, and I kind of looked at Bob a couple times. He wasn't looking at me. I looked at Dave a little bit to get Bob's attention, and we thought about going back up because we had Zach McPherson right there, and we wanted to get him because of the kind of player he was, not because he was a corner and we needed a corner. Then you asked a final question. You said, how do you go and address that? Well, I know in 2017 that we needed a corner too. And we got to August, and we had a preseason game in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and we made a trade with the Buffalo Bills, and we got a corner that helped us win a Super Bowl. So, we've had experiences about getting guys late in the process. In that same year, we needed a running back at the trade deadline. We made a trade at the trade deadline. So I promise you, I promise our fans that we will do whatever it takes at any time of the year to improve this roster. I'm not sure even any of those questions were what you asked at this point.
We have time for a few more, so we'll go Rob Motti, Ruben Frank, and Les Bowen.
Howie, one more on Zach. I just wanted to follow up. How do you balance doing right by a player who has meant so much to this organization versus doing purely what's best for the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, how difficult is that process for you when it's a guy like Zach? And also, have you talked to him? Is there a scenario where you would try to bring him back?
Well, shoot, Rob, someone told me this a while back. They said the President of the United States wins the presidency sometimes with a little bit more than 50% of the votes. That's a lot of people who didn't vote for him. So certainly when you're in leadership positions, not everyone's gonna like the decisions you make. You know, we start this process before we start the regular season, and we tell 37 guys that they're not going to be part of the journey with us. So that's how we start this. So. These are not fun. They're not fun situations when you have people that you care about and who have done a lot for you. And, we got a Super Bowl trophy in part from some of these guys. And there's no doubt about it, big part because of some of those guys. And so you just want to be fair. You just want to find outcomes that not necessarily are great for the team and not good for the player, but just fair, just stuff that, everyone can kind of feel like, this works for everyone. And not only in this situation with Zach, just generally, I think that's the most important thing. Just knowing that, like, we're going to be fair. We're going to work through things together. We're going to communicate. We're going to discuss them. And we're going to be upfront with everybody about what we're thinking.
Go ahead, Rube.
Hey, guys. Howie, I guess I'll direct this to you. I think 8 of your 10 picks in the first 2 rounds since 2018 have been on the offensive side. Do you feel like you can get the impact players you need on defense, without really addressing that in the first or second round? Obviously, the hit rate's a lot higher early on.
Yeah, I think, Ruben, when we think about like where we were in those years, we had drafted a young quarterback and we had studied a lot how like a young quarterback with young players growing together and how that looks and how that works. And that was really the vision. When we talk about a vision and a plan, it was, we had drafted this young quarterback, put a lot of picks into this young quarterback. And so, let's surround this guy with players they can grow with and get chemistry with throughout it. And, at some point kind of pivot a little bit. And maybe that means sign some guys in free agency or make some trades or draft some guys. And so I think that was really the plan there. And obviously a lot has changed since 2017. So, now we're at a point where we want to get as many good players as we possibly can. Again, a big focus today was on the defensive side, not because we woke up this morning and said, let's just draft defense. It was because of how the board fell.
Last question here with Les.
There we go. Okay, sorry. I wanted to ask fellas one more time about the cornerback position. And I understood what you said about Zach. There were a lot of guys, the first 2 went before you had a chance to do anything. Then there were some that went in the 20s and at the top of the second round. Did you consider Zach comparable to those players? And did you think about maybe trying to get up into the bottom of the first round? How do you see that situation?
Well, I mean, if we had a grade on a corner that was at the top of the first round, and we were picking in the top of the third round, we probably would have taken that player less, just to be honest with you. I mean, we don't see many first round grades on any position in the top of the third round. So certainly when we're picking a guy in the fourth round, we're not expecting that guy to have a grade of a guy that we would look at, when we're picking at 37. Am I answering your question? I'm not trying to be cute. I just don't know if I'm answering your question.
I meant the guys in the 20s and at the top of the second. Are they necessarily a lot better than Zach, or did you see Zach as, kind of comparable to those guys?
Yeah, I think it depends on the player that you're talking about to compare, but I think that when you look at the traits that he has and some of the guys that went there, he's got the ability to play inside or out, and he talks about his ability to take away the ball and the ball skills that he has and the competitiveness he has, and certainly great football character. But he's got a long road ahead of him as we hand him off to the coaches.
Okay.
Thank you for your guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Enjoy your
Thank
families.
you.
We'll see you soon.